last time our discussion was really kind of focused on the Dataverse, right? So now, if we want to expand that, right, what does that entail? Take a look at some of the integrations, right, embedded AI, and then of course like to the different types of apps that are available. And then and as we do that, Mariano and Facundo are going to be giving some demos to help us do that. And then I guess with that, right, Mariano and Facundo, I'll turn the time over to you to kind of walk us through some of these other pieces.
Yeah, we're trying to cover some demos here. Facundo, whenever you want to share your screen.
I will share the screen.
Taking the step from the agenda, the first thing that we want to show is how we can connect in a simple way to different type of data sources, because all begins with data. So one of the things that has Powerapps is the simplicity to connect almost everything.
Can you see right now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
So here is the basic screen. When you start powerapps.com, you will be redirected to make.powerapps.com, and this is the home screen that you receive, and basically where you can start building an app very quickly. So go ahead, Facundo, and start with the first example that we.
Yes, as Mariano said, this is the Powerapps Studio, that it can be called. And we will show here first, you have different types for creating an app for starting, like a blank app or something with a Dataverse, or as the last session Mariano showed with an Excel. And in this case, we have here one demo to show that in this case is a paddle app that was created for a coach that they want to take a look on the data of for analyze a paddle match. And
the idea is to register every movement that every player makes in a game. So after the game, he can do analytics on that and improve the game of each player.
Yes, this one is a proof of concept. We create in this case is a Spanish app, but we have here for change it for English version. And the interesting things here, we have to mention that the connection in this case is made with a SharePoint list. And the last session, we saw a model-driven app that was created with an Excel. And in this case, we have a SharePoint list, and separate, we have a connection through the SharePoint list. And we created a new Canvas app that we are starting from scratch.
So these are basically the two ways that you can start building an application. The first one is starting with data. If you already have a data like an Excel or a SharePoint list already populated, you can start from that and then building the app, or vice versa. You can start with a clean, empty app design and then add a connection to the data.
Yes, in this
which
case,
was this case.
Yes, thank you, Marina, for the comments. In this case, we have here the SharePoint list, and then we create the app, and we added a new connection here that we have here all the different connectors that you have, or if you didn't have any one of these, you can create a custom connector, but we will talk about it later. In this case, we use a SharePoint list, and we add it, and here we have the connection. And in this case, we have the edit screen, or if you press play, you preview the app and you take a look at the user. In this case, we can select the point type, for example, a service. You can add node. This is a good one, for example, and you can choose this drive or backhand. You press, for example, drive, and it will connect to the SharePoint list and make the commit there, or say the information. In this case, we have here the information that we have built recently, and the idea is to take a lot of point types and then make analysis. So I test, example, backhand, and I have to select the point type first of the mesh, smash, and it will be recording all the steps here in the SharePoint. We have here.
So you can basically, after you record all the things, you can start, for example, a Power BI report on this SharePoint list and make some analysis. That would be the idea of having this type of connection between the app. So this is a very native connection. You start with the application on Powerapps, define a connection to a data source, which is actually on Office 365, and populate data on this SharePoint list.
And as Mariano mentioned, you can easily integrate, for example, with Power BI. Here you have a button that you can create a visualization from scratch, and pretty straightforward with the basic information. It creates an easy report. Then you have to personalize and do the other things. But we have here a Power BI dashboard also.
That's a very quick way to have an insight from your data and mixing Powerapps with Power BI. Yeah, it's the same family.
So we will not enter any deep on the code, but here you have the way that it makes the saving on the SharePoint list. Here we have the source, that is the paddle sample, the data source, and here you have the different columns and the information that you send through the app. You are making here a flash function.
So every time you hit on that button, it will actually populate that record on the SharePoint list.
On the SharePoint list, that's right. Well, this is the first one that we have to show. Then, as we mentioned, here you have all the different connectors. You have a very long list from different connections, that Amazon, SQL, and third-party connection. But then, for example, what's happened if you didn't have any connection, any connector here, and the connector doesn't exist yet, you can create your own custom connector, for example, in case for an API service that you have on your company or something like this, that you didn't have a connector, but you have an API that you can share and pass information through an API. So you can create a custom connector for any web service with an API. We will show another demo about it.
We have to mention that on the previous built connectors, you have more than 300 type of connectors already built on Powerapps, and you know, it's just a cloud-based service, so every month you get added new connectors as well. So luckily, if you use common services, most of the connectors are there. But in the case that you already have, like Facundo mentioned, applications already built on your company, you can customize and create your own connectors to those applications.
Yes, this is an interesting thing. You're required to have a little more knowledge about developer or the API side, but you can create on your own. And as we were mentioned, this is another app that we will take a look on the. Here we have, to have a better idea about the custom connector, is like a wrapper of the final API because it's published on the Azure side, and then the custom connector connects with the API. And then you can connect through the Powerapps or the Power Automate or another service that you have on the Power Platform. You can use it through the different services. In this case, we can show here, we have here the custom connector, and we will take a deep view on the connector, how it should look like. And we will take a look on the implementation also. Here, as we said, we go to the Dataverse side. We have tables, data flows, connections, as we mentioned before. And in this case, we have the custom connector side that you can create a new connector. You can create from blank or import an existing OpenAPI file. If you use a Postman collection and you are familiar with that, you can import also there the collection. And in this case, we will take a look on the steps. We have here some information. You added an icon. You can personalize some things. You enter the API website, the URL. In this case, we are using a free API that allows you to create an API. It's working well.
Well,
There's an error. Yes. Well, we will take a look on that, but it was working.
Not our fault.
Yes,
that's an external service.
Yes, it's a free service to prove or to test a request and a response and return a list and the thing that we will take a look at them if it's working. Then you have a security steps in case that your API has some security like an API key or authentication or a user password authentication. You can add here. In this case, you don't have any authentication. And then you have the different definitions on the API. In this case, we have a get users and a save user that make a post. In this case, you have to create here all the action that you have on the API method. You have to declare all the things here. For example, in case of get, you have some parameters that you have to add to the if you have to add to the request, or in case or at the response, you have to establish the JSON response that you have. In this case, you have the different tags that the API have. You can import here from example. You paste here the JSON. If it's working.
No, it's not working. I see.
Well, but for example, I have here get users page 2, and it returns a page with the data information and all the information about the users. Let's see a pretty clear way. You can paste it here, and it will show here the information in a better way, like the ID, the email, first name, last name, and an image. This is what we will see then on the app.
So we will need basically to previous adding this connection, we will need to know everything about that API and how the information is get and posted to the
Yes,
to
you need
those
all
APIs.
the API definition and make all the steps to create here the different actions and import the request or the response. In this case, you import here, you copy this raw response and you paste here, and then they create all the tasks here that will allow you to use on the app that we will see in a very few minutes. Then you have the save user, as we mentioned, and for example, in this case, the request needs some information here, like the shop and the name of the user. And it's quite technically, but this is like a wizard that you can create the actions. But another case that you have is the Swagger editor, that you have here all the definition of the methods and the request and the response. And here we have the get and the post and the responsive. This is more technically, but you can edit also here. After that, you have one more step here, that is the coding, that you don't need to change anything, but you have the option to override some methods or some response in case that you want to, for example, for adding a tag or a particularly new tag on the response or something particularly that you wanted to add. You need some C# knowledge, but you can add it here. And then that is important, after creating all the things, it's important to test this custom connector, individually test it to make sure that everything is working fine, or as you expect. In this case, it creates a new connection through the custom connector, and then you press test the operation that you want to test. In this case, it will get a get user. And well, as it's not working fine, we have here some issues, as we can see. It's a problem for the demo, but we can continue. In this case, you are sure that you have some error. Yes, operation failed. And here you have the Heroku application error that is responding. It's not responding the actual response that is expected, so also it's an schema validation that we will continue. In this case, you have here the request and the request that's sent, for example, and here is the connection that creates through Azure service through the final API. Well, we can continue. We will make a quick test. In this case, the idea was to get the information. When we press this button here, we have the custom connector through the API. And when you press get clients, it goes and executes this is the API name. And then you have the methods that we showed before, the get users, that we didn't send any, you don't have to send any information. It retrieves all the users, in this case, the data property. And here we create a collection that is like a list of, a collection is for creating and for
It's
saving.
like an array of
yes,
items.
An array of items that you can use internal on the app for saving a list or items. In this case, it's empty. They got this collection. We will make some try tests here, but it was failing on the other side also.
The service is not working right now.
No, it's
No,
not
it's still
working.
not working.
Yeah. Well, we go through it and then came back to see
Yeah.
if working. And then the idea was to show also post information that you enter two fields and make the submit through the API, and the API make a response when it works, and the ID and the datetime. And then you have another feature or show here that is the good one, that is very easy to use to apply the share code of the application, in this case of my laptop or of your mobile. You press capture and you retrieve the latitude and longitude, and in case that you have the altitude sensor, you retrieve the altitude also. Then you have to implement a map service like Google or something like this to show, for example, the point on the map. But here you have the latitude and longitude. It's very easy to use. There is a function, a location, that retrieves the altitude or the longitude or the altitude, latitude, longitude, and latitude. And in this case, we are creating like a global variable with the set function. You put a name, and then in this case, we are retrieving the altitude or the longitude.
And this is very simple to add to your application, and it's a common pattern because, for example, if you have a mobile workforce, and one of the cases that we worked previously on our clients, the salespeople goes to the clients and take notes and photograph of their emergencies, and it's a good thing to add the latitude and longitude very easily into the record, capturing these metrics. So when you see an image, you will see, hey, I took it from here, so you can easily see what client you were on.
Yeah, sure. This is a proof of concept. And it's very simple because you are using a function that is right
It's
there
already
on the
built in
Powerapps.
Powerapps.
Yes.
Yeah.
You only have to allow to use the application, or the browser allow you to use the location of your computer or
You give
your
the right
mobile,
permissions to.
but that's all. And then we can show on the mobile, but there is an interesting feature about a barcode scanner that is included of a component of the Powerapps. You have here you have to press a scan in case of the mobile, and it will display your your camera. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you press a scan, and it will retrieve the numbers or the alphabet that is on the barcode. And the control is.
One of the things that I want to mention is that I know perhaps we talk about last meeting was everything that you design here, or every app that you publish on Powerapps here on the browser, it can be published on your mobile phone. You can download the Powerapps application at the store of your phone, and when you log in with your credentials, it will appear every app that you have published or you have permissions on powerapps.com.
Yes, this is, I think, the most important feature about the Powerapps, that you will have all the different apps that you have on your site. For example, you can share an app, or you can have your own apps. And in case of having your own apps, it will display automatically all the applications that you have. As I have here, it will show you all the applications on my mobile phone as well. And this is very fantastic feature. You download only the Powerapps app, and you enter your credentials. And right there, you will have your own applications, or if someone share an application to you, it will display it there, and you can use it as we are using here as a play version, right? You cannot edit there. You also only have the option to use it. And finally, we have one more example here about sending an email that is very easy also. In this case, it uses a connection through the Outlook and the Office 365 users. For showing here the list of users, in my case, it will show here. You have the subject, and test event. And you press send, and it will send, and the email was sent. Enter in the Outlook. It will display here. This is my time here, and here we have the email sent very easy through the Powerapps.
So we have basically defined a connection for Office 365 and then use it on this form.
Yes, that's right. Well, we will try that the last time if the API is working.
No, I think it's the service.
Okay, we will continue other interesting demo that we have. And then we can come back in another case. Well, then another demo that I have to show. Right here at the top right, you have the environment. In this case, I have a private environment. This allows you to create environment, for example, for QA or for production or for developer. You can create different environments. I have a separate one for my testing part. And also, there is a free license for testing for developer for a trial. And I create a new environment with this trial that you can test and use it there. Not all the features, but the features that are not premium, like the SharePoint connector and the Excel connector is for free. Then we will show here another example that is pretty new and very interesting, that you can convert an image into an app. In this case, you can use an image from scratch, or you write it in the paper, you take a picture, and then you upload it here, as I show it on the demo, and then it will create the part of the app and also the database in the table on the database side. We will take here you had some recommendation because the picture and the face have to be in a good way per se, but it's very nice.
I think that is not good for me because I have a terrible writing.
Yes,
so.
in some part. But we will show here an image, an update, an image that, for example, is to make a reservation, and we will show here minutes. The image, and in this case, it's not the best, but I think also, but it's good.
So basically, it's a wireframe of what applications you want to make, and you put all the fields And if you have a selection or you have a multiple choice type form,
Yes.
you can create it on a picture, take a snapshot from your phone and upload it here. That would be the idea.
Or also, if in case of an event, or if you have a form, for example, in a website, and you can create something similar, you make a print screen and you can add it here. Well, we added the image, and then you have to choose the format. If it will be a tablet or a phone, create a phone, and it will start to creating the components. In this case, it shows the image and the recognition. For example, here that is a label. In this case,
Yeah,
you have a
this
text input.
is part of the artificial intelligence that is taking the picture and trying to make a recognition of every part of the picture. And this is a pre-built component that has Microsoft. It's already trained, so this is ready to use. But then you can, it will give you a preview like this and say, here we found the text label, here we have a text input, but you can choose it and you can change it from here.
Yes, I think that is a fantastic feature. Here, recognize the drop down, the date pickers, and the button here. And what you have here, all the tasks that you will apply. Then,
So if you get creative very late at night and you don't want to put the phone, you can write down on a piece of paper and then take a picture.
start and try it. Yeah, sure. And here you have to choose what we will do with the data. In this case, if we create a new table on the Dataverse, but you have the option for deciding then, for example, SharePoint, whatever you want.
Yeah, the option is if you want to create a connection and populate data from what the artificial intelligence has recognized on the form, or you can choose to do it later and connect to different data sources different from the database.
And in this case, it shows the column name that it will have and the data type, and you can change if you want, for example, of guests, number of guests, and you choose number of guests instead of guests only. Here the same number of guests, and it changes. And then if everything is fine, you continue and show it here the primary column name and all the other information details of the table. And finally, it will creating the app. This will take some minutes because first it will try to create the database side. We create a new table there with a specific column, and after that we will open and create the Powerapps side and the Poweраpp form there with all the information. This is very new, but it's very interesting. I imagine sometimes when you are dealing with how the app will look like, and you make some in a paper,
Some sketches.
mock-up or sketches, and well, it's good. It's a good start, right? Of your area with your partners, and imagine the new app, or you have some ideas.
I think that the API side has restarted and is working. So I
Yeah.
can test it. Yeah.
Well, that's great. As I say, it takes some minutes. We can make a quick test on the other part. It is working. Well, unexpected. It's not good. we have another. We'll try again one more time. Version. Recognize some things. Well, we change. We have here the demo for showing the custom connector working, the get info. If everything goes fine. Well, here we have, you retrieve the clients of the list that we see before.
So now it's basically the API is working. We are getting customers and the list is populated.
Yes, and we have here all the information that the API retrieves. And here we have a gallery control for showing this collection information. We have here the image and the last name and first name. And we have all the information here. What's happening here? Well, when you press get client, it will go to the custom connector, executes the get user method, and it retrieves the response, retrieves a data information that is all this information that is there. This is what we see before. And we have here this information right now on the Powerapps side. And the other one is to make a post. In this case, it will simulate that saving the information through an API, and it will send in a name, for example, Mariano. We shall we press submit, and what we have here, it will execute the save user method, and it will send the text input one, that is the name, and the shell parameter is the text input 2.
So this will be the most complex scenario to deal with inside Powerapps when you don't have a pre-developed connector, and you have to develop your own.
To create your own, right?
So you need basically application expert from the other side that tells you which method to use, how will be the response, how we need to get the post. So basically, you need to interact with another part of the application.
Yes. You need to be in touch with the other teams and integrate maybe with them, or ask for the definition and how the API works, right?
And also the security of the connection as well. You have to have all the tokens and everything that you need to get running the API from Powerapps.
And we press submit, it will go to the API and make the post. In this case, the API responds the new ID, for example, and the data time information of the response. Here now it's working, and you have here the list of users, or this is the other that we use it, the post create, that you have here the request and the response that we receive something there. Well, we can continue on the other side. We change again, and we are here creating an application from an image. We convert an image into an app. We have here all the details and the information, label, type input.
Yeah, it converts basically everything that it recognizes on the image. It will basically convert to a component on the canvas. It put fields. It put whenever we say this was a date, it converts it to a date type. have a multiple choice option over down.
Yes, in this case, for example, it's a drop down with the time, but if you remember, you have here only a 5 p.m. For example, you have personalized it and create a different option for selection. For example, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. You have the list there, more information there, or then the same with the guest. That is only 2 because the image shows only 2. But you can easily add here. For example, here is the text, and you can add it here an icon. It's not an icon, it's a square or a rectangle.
Right. So I think, I guess
like
you'll forgive me for jumping in, guys, right? But as we kind of approach the hour mark here, I think we're ultimately trying to say is that the AI will help get you started, right? We're going to fill out the forms, and then you can go and start customizing, as you need to. There are some options available for you there. Yeah. So maybe can we do some final thoughts?
Yes, I will very quickly end with this to show that all the information will be saved. Here you have the name, Carlos. For example, here you have the day picker, and today at 7, auto, we have any accommodation here for the table. You can go for dinner, where you press confirm and it will go and save the information. In this case, we are using the Dataverse table. Here you have the connector, the Dataverse, and if you have here, we can see the table and all the properties and the columns. We will add in more columns related to the environment on the Powerapps side. And here we have the table for Carlos.
So my final thought is that we can even start from scratch on a piece of paper, and we're going to start building apps very quickly. We're going to start with pre-populated connectors, and if you need to go deeper and more technical, or if you have already built some applications on your company and you want to interact with them, there is an option that you can build custom connectors in order to talk with them. So it's a very powerful tool that you can use to build quickly and get insight from your data and have applications whenever you need it in your mobile phone or your desktop.
We didn't have time for showing the EI connectors and site, but for the next session.
Yeah, for the next session, or we can wrap up it.
That is very interesting. That
if you have any questions about that, we can cover them on a table as well.
Processing bills, image classification, or text classification. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, no, awesome. So thank you, gentlemen, right, for jumping on, right? I do think that there at the end, that's extremely powerful, right? Now somebody in the marketing department can draw something up. You could scan it and very rapidly get a prototype, and that is again, the acceleration is super helpful. Thanks again, Mariano, Facundo. Thanks for participating in today's session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody later.
SQL Data Partners.